Well, we've been having a very in-depth look at what's going on potentially with Douglas Promenade and the new look that could last for 40 years, but take 5 years at least to be put into place. But before it has to do that, Mr. Gawne, you have to convince your members of Tynwald. You've got to get planning as well. There's still issues over the horse trams and grandfather rights and corporation approval. First of all, are you confident you are going to get this?
What I'm confident of is that this is the best scheme that we could come up with, which meets as far as possible all the needs that have been expressed to us. But I will give you just a little anecdote in relation, for example, to the parking on the promenade walkway. There has been a fair amount of criticism about parking on the promenade walkway. People don't believe that this is the right thing to do. And then, of course, as soon as we announce that we're going to remove parking from the promenade walkway, I get an email from a hotelier saying, "This is a disgrace, Minister. Why are you removing parking from the promenade walkway? This is really good for my business." And we've been selling the business on the basis that people can park on the walkway. So I think whatever we do, we're going to have people who are positive and people who are negative. You will probably hear more from the people who are negative than the ones who are positive, because that's an inevitable.
Tell us about the promenade parking. Where's it going?
As soon as the horse trams start up, we felt that was a good beginning of the season time.
All that machinery and all the things you put in there, will that just stay there, not just be switched off?
Well, that's something that we'll consider as we go.
Okay, this is about 21 million, wasn't it, pounds?
Yes.
This whole scheme?
Yes.
21 million?
Absolutely. It's a massive piece of civil engineering that we're about to undertake here. We're not just getting rid of a bumpy surface and putting a new surface down. We are actually reconstructing the whole thing. There are all kinds of unknowns underneath the road. We've done our best to try and understand what is there, but this is a big construction project. Some of what's underneath, some of the foundations are effectively sand. There's other areas where we understand there's things have just been dumped.
What do you mean? You've been digging holes in it for last year, and it's all been dug up again, which would have been phase 2 and would have been underway. By not going ahead, have you put the price up by putting it back a year?
No, the amount that was in the pink book in the budget has stayed the same. It is fair to say that the design, when we first came back with it 2 or 3 months ago, had got up to about 26 million, but I was very clear, no, we're sticking with the price that we have agreed.
That's because after Broadway,
some years ago,
the second part of it isn't going to have much wow factor, is it? It's all in the first sector.
Let's be honest. Where do you want the wow factor? Do you want the wow factor at the heart of the retail and hotelier sector, or do you want the wow factor at the other end? And I would have thought this is the end we wanted.
Yeah.
Yes,
you agree you are sort of slimming a project down in the second part from Broadway downwards. There's less.
I think on a £21 million project, to talk about slimming it down would be perhaps not the best choice of words.
Sure.
It is a big project, it's an expensive project, but as anyone driving regularly along the promenade will tell you, it is a piece of work that is vitally in need of being done. So we either do what we had originally proposed for phase 2, which is pretty much replacing like for like with a few little add-ons on the sea terminal end of the promenade, or you do what we're proposing now for the same price, a much more innovative scheme, which hopefully will not only benefit pedestrians and car users, but it will also significantly lift property prices in the area too, because that's the sort of thing that's happening elsewhere.
And we can talk about this all day long, but the one thing that most people seem to be bothered about is the horse trams.
Yes.
That always seems to be the thing that gets most views on MTTV.
Absolutely.
If you're talking about those, you've gone with basically what was down the sea terminal design for that last year, wasn't it? The same area is going to go there. And how long will they be out of action? Is it just 1 year now?
Yes, it's 12 months, and correcting something you said earlier, we do have agreement in principle from Douglas Borough Council for this. Now, I know there are councillors who still have concerns about what we're doing, but the majority view in Douglas Borough Council now is in favour of the scheme that we're proposing. And I think, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I think the reason that members or council has been persuaded on this is because of the innovative nature of the rest of the scheme. So rather than having fairly limited areas, so it's very clear when you're on the walkway you walk, when you're on the road you drive, when you're on a pedestrian crossing. If the motorists obey the pedestrian crossing, you're safe to walk, but at any other time you're going to get run over. Instead of having all that kind of clear distinctions, the new design will be much more mixed use. And I hope that has persuaded some of the wavering members in the council that actually this is a scheme worth supporting.
Well, not just the council, but the Tynwald members who were in here before us, certain ones are leaving, and all of them, I think I'm right in saying about 5 or 6 came out. None of them were 100% with you. They all had their concerns. This, when it goes to Tynwald, will be the chance where they will raise those concerns now, or do you have to do a bit more behind the scenes before you take it for approval?
Well, I think the most fundamental concern that was expressed was in relation to whether we should or shouldn't support the horse trams on the promenade, or promenade, walkway, wherever. Now, my view is that we continue with what we have there until we're told to design it differently. What I would say to members of Tynwald who don't support any future expenditure on the horse trams, well, let's put your money where your mouth is, come to Tynwald and let's have a debate about it. If Tynwald then chooses not to spend any money on shifting the horse trams, then we are likely to go into a dispute with Douglas Borough Council. At the moment we have agreement, but if it comes to legal positions, our legal position is different to Douglas Borough Council's, so inevitably that will result in a significant court case, which
cost millions.
Which will, well, I don't know about millions, but it'll cost a lot of money.
Lawyers involved,
and it will take time, which means that we'll have probably a 12-month delay to the scheme, added to which we'd have to redesign the scheme. The cost of building the horse tram element is about £3.5 million, but not doing the horse tram element doesn't mean to say you save £3.5 million, because there are certain elements that would have to be done in a different way if there's not the horse tram track there. Okay. There's also one option would be to put the horse tram back to the side of the road. You then lose 100 car parking spaces. To build a car park for 100 cars, you would need probably another £1 million. So it's not just a simple matter of if you don't spend the money on the horse tram tracks, you save that money. There are other elements that have to be considered.
Just away from that, I mean, anyone, Tynwald members, can have a pick at changing this, changing that, moving things. Could you end up with a diluted project? Forget the horse trams, just diluted with, we want pelican crossings and we want them and we're going to have them. I mean, would that spoil the whole thing?
Well, I know you've spoken to Ben Hamilton Bailey, who has been quite influential in terms of the way in which we've designed this scheme, and he will no doubt have told you that once you start introducing compromises, that's when the whole scheme starts to fall. So that's
my point. Do you think it could?
Well, I think if we decide to introduce those compromises, then quite frankly we will have to redesign the scheme again.
Which would put it back another year.
Which I think would be a travesty, really. We've come forward with the best possible solution. There's been a huge consultation on this. It started when I was Minister in Infrastructure last time, so that's at least 4 years we've been talking to people about this. I believe that it is right to spend time talking to people. I think we have done a really good job now of considering everybody's views. In politics, you never please everybody, and as I said earlier in the interview, you are going to get people who will not like this scheme. I think that's pretty clear. But I think that with use, people will get to like this scheme. I think that even the waverers will get to like the scheme. I'm happy because I believe that we should be providing some kind of bold leadership. I'm happy to take the blame in the short term while people get used to it and start to understand how to use it. And if they want to throw me out at the election, so be it.
Okay.
But I do believe we should be innovative and bold, and not just doing more of the same because it's easier.
And I know that we'll both be talking about this for the next 5 years, won't we? Because it will be an ongoing thing between hold-ups, traffic lights, and all the stuff that goes on with putting in this new thing.
Well, I've got 18 months reasonably guaranteed.